Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Real South Africa. We really appreciate the fact that you guys sit down and you watch these videos. And of course, you take away good information. We bring the best that we can. We bring professionals. And we also bring those who come here for the very first time. And that could be you next time. But they come here and they're looking for information, and we provide it. And today we have Ken. He came a long way from Washington, D.C., and he was like, you know what can I do here? So we sat him down with the professionals and they had a conversation, and we're going to bring you the entire conversation. So this could be you, but yet doing business in South Africa isn't just for those in the diaspora. It's also included those that are in South Africa as South Africans. So let's start doing business here on the continent.
In challenging times, it is easy to forget what ignited your passion for business. Remember when you were a dreamer, a change maker, a job creator. Recall the promise, the rush, the prospects of success, and the dawn of a brighter tomorrow in the absence of isolation. The new reality of today requires a reboot, a reimagining, and a redirection of ideas. Let's reload opportunities, reimagine growth, renew connections, redirect conversations, regain advantage, revive this economic powerhouse, reignite Gauteng. In us, you have a partner who can open doors, connect you to opportunities, and unlock Gauteng's dynamic possibilities. Remember GGDA.
Yeah, go ahead and
I'm gonna give you one of my booklets. I actually left it in that other booklet, but it's fine. We'll give it on our way out. But Mr. Ken, thanks for coming. I'm Clifford Ndlovu, as you saw from my card, and I think I can describe myself as part of the team that does trade and investment here in Gauteng through this agency called the Gauteng Growth and Development Agency. Been doing this is my 13th year now. That's why I'm looking at Infrastructure Africa. There we go. Yeesh. Some James Bond stuff.
That's right. Blowing you away. Blowing you away.
Yeah. All right. So, anywho, yeah, well, you'll have to teach me one of them days.
Tell them why you're here.
Yeah. So,
Tell them why you're here.
Well, you know,
He's going to help you for real.
okay. Well, obviously, one of the reasons I'm here is obviously because of the information that I've received from Mark Blanton. But along with that, you know, I just feel a need to get back home, for lack of a better term. And I guess I could just cut to the chase in that, as far as business is concerned, I think what I'd like to do is get my feet on the ground, learn the people, learn what the needs are, and then base, you know, course of business that I'm going to go based on that. My background is cyber security, IT, so you know the infrastructure is already here, so they don't necessarily need that. So I'm just trying to find what my space should be and what I should be doing for the people, you know, for the country.
okay. No, fantastic. Maybe just a quick intro. As mentioned, part of the trade and investment team. We exist to receive you, understand what your queries, inquiries, interest, or near-made decisions are,
Right.
or encourage you to move towards those. But also just be the human voice. I know you are in IT. We'll get to that one day when I tell you about where was I before I came here.
Right.
But the essence of it is, yes, everyone is talking AI, IoT, 4.0 and 6G now. I think people are just trying to outspeak each other.
Right.
Because I'm sure someone's going to say 7G one of these days, and we don't know what that means. But humans still need humans, and you still need that human touch, that human voice in everything, you know. And so we attempt to become that, in a sense that with our experience, we know the terrain, we know the ecosystem, and we hope that in our conversation with you, then we'll be able to help you to create efficiency in navigating the system. Like you are proposing to understand what's the terrain like, what areas could be of relevance to you, and then hopefully that will help you to get closer to your decision, including timing, how much, when, etc. And interesting enough, in one article I read yesterday in Business Tech, our president has identified business services, as the next booming sector of growth in South Africa. That's because we've been ranked first in some global survey for business services, including business process outsourcing and others, and so it's viewed as such. Now, I can tell you that from where I stand, I can see clearly how that becomes an impact. People are looking for those, they're looking to outsource, they're looking for people who know. And we used to think it's all about call centers. It's not. You get law, you get financial services, of course, you get even people who outsource on HR. And cybersecurity being an emerging sector in Africa, we know we already are ahead in terms of other payment systems like M-Pesa, and all your Samsung Pays and Apple Pays are already here. However, for small to medium businesses, they still need to be secured because they have IP, they have processes, they have trade secrets they'd like to keep, but they are not into that space. So arguably, that means that in the space of cybersecurity and such, there could be a solution in a box. And by way of a case study, last year, South Africa announced the Protection of Personal Information Act as going to be mandatory within the next 2 years, but businesses have until June to start to put processes in place, but they'll only be penalized, I think, after next year if they don't comply with personal information security. So, how you gather it, how you process it, how you destroy it, how you share it, etc. Now, what some of these law firms around Gauteng have done, and I've participated in a few of those webinars, they are now creating a POPI, we call it POPI, Protection of Personal Information Act. They've created a POPI solution in a box for businesses, but it's all about how the business complies with the law. They still that issue about, but actually, how do you protect it? Where's the IT in it? This is just the law saying to avoid getting sued, to avoid getting compromised and fined, this is what you do, but there's still that gap in the market. And the smaller businesses hear it, support it, but they don't have time for it, they don't have skills for it. So it could be something you might be looking at. I'll send you information on POPI, and I think in this article about the services, then hopefully you can study. And then you saw that report I shared on with Jerome. I'll see if I can find something. Did you find it any useful?
Yeah, I did. I actually looked at it a lot, and I went through it, and I was like, oh, okay, let me go ahead and forward it to him. Then let me call him.
Okay, so
make sure he gets it, because sometimes my stuff goes to the inbox, wrong inbox.
Indeed.
So
all right.
That's interesting.
So what are you thinking?
Well, I was just thinking from a standpoint of personal information, but also personal health information as well.
Okay.
That's definitely a need. Especially with COVID,
like HIPAA and stuff like that.
HIPAA laws, PII, personal health information. Yeah. So when you think about people that with COVID right now, and vaccines and things like that, that's still personal health information.
Much, yeah.
And so there needs to be policies and procedures put in place for people to implement that on their IT systems as well as the way they do business. Yeah. I could definitely see a need there, and I definitely could provide that information or provide that service.
And I think what I found is the fact that the new critical skills list that hasn't been approved, but it's pretty much approved.
Yeah.
That they're looking for a bunch of IT people, professionals to come
to
implement, to do the work of the policies that you're talking about. And so
so it is definitely an emerging industry. And interesting enough, it's going to go retrospect. I was explaining to Mark earlier how now offices are starting to rotate. So some people come on Monday, Wednesday, some come on Tuesday, Thursday. But people have to declare the so-called comorbidities, which means the diseases you have that might make you more vulnerable to COVID.
Right.
And again, that's personal.
Right.
That's very personal. So if I'm going to declare to my HR, I need that to be secure. My colleagues might know I'm not coming in. I'm permanently at home, but I wouldn't like them to know why. For instance, So that's why I'm saying it's going to go retrospect, because it means all the data that exists from the health sector will now to be secured extra and taken all the way back. So there's definitely a much larger scope than this last year and a half that we've gone through. And I think as South Africa, and remember, we are also the hub for Africa, especially sub-Saharan Africa. So everyone comes here to look for those technologies, those services. So if you set up here, if you bring yourself...
Wait, what was that?
I said, oh my God.
No, we tell people that all the time. They don't get it. Obviously, you get it. That this is the hub for pretty much Africa itself.
Right.
So if you want to do something,
Do it here.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I'll give you an instance. Next door, you saw those two doors are closed? That's a Business Sweden meeting. It's the Swedish chamber. You know, and I told you last night I was meeting with the Portuguese. All of them are gravitated here, and more are coming because they take these best practices, these best tools, and go and implement them at home. So being set up here gives you that geographic advantage of getting that octopus tentacle reach to the rest of the continent quite swiftly, as such. So yeah, so I think there's definitely more conversations to be had and to be shared. Yeah,
Absolutely.
and I'm glad thanks Mark again for allowing us to meet.
Indeed.
You know,
Indeed.
yeah.
It's a pleasure. Indeed.
So
is
yeah,
there anything else in the IT space that you wanted to? Because I know you might be overwhelmed at this point.
Well, yeah, I am a little bit overwhelmed. I will admit, because it's my head is spinning on those on what can be done in the amount of work that can be done that needs to be done. So I'm trying to communicate, but I'm also processing things in one time, process it all.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But,
I'm with you. Look, I can tell you that in terms of infrastructure, we've done relatively well in the last 5 years to 3 years, and I'll explain. 5 years was putting the infrastructure in place on the ground, the towers, the fiber, everything, and even repurposing some of the older copper infrastructure we used to have for comms. In the last 3 years, then the battle around reducing the cost of data started, and it kind of took off. And I think last 2 weeks, Vodacom announced yet another reduction. I think they sliced it again by almost 50%, the cost of 1 gig bundle. It's about 49 rands now, which is approximately $3 to $1.50.
Yeah, something like that.
So, somewhere along those lines. So the data costs have came quite down, and we have now 5G. So I'll give you an instance. You are able to get higher speed connection that's capable, that's out there right now for 999 rands, unlimited, uncapped, unshaped. So a lot of South Africans are now tuning into streaming and video calling, and of course with the imperative that COVID brought upon all of us, the Zoom meetings, the Teams meetings, the Google Meets and others are now the means to go. So there's definitely room, and security keeps reminding us that we need to attend to it, because our own credit bureau had a huge data breach in the last 2 years, and we just got reminded about the Facebook one, and some of these smaller banks are also getting their data exposed every now and then. So there's definitely a conversation to be had around how do we do that. Of course, I'm from the government side of things, though I have a good insight into what is happening in the business world. For us is to craft the right policies, starting with the Protection of Personal Information Act, which is, by the way, very much geared towards the GDPR, the European one. The Europe is its own around, and they give Google and Facebook and others a very hard time around how they handle that information. And I know it's Guide for Data Protection something, but you will see that when you log in Europe, you get a different pop-up around the cookies than when you log in anywhere else in the world, because they've tightened their screws, and now they are tightening even them a little bit more, because they are asking for these ghost profiles to end. So essentially, if Mark had 2 parts of information he wanted to share, then he shared one part with me, one part with you. Then Mark decides he doesn't want to be on Twitter anymore, and he writes to Twitter. Twitter will expunge his information. But you and I still have those 2 pieces, and at any point in time, that can be reassembled and create a virtual Mark. Scary stuff. But anyways, you know. So Europe is now fighting that, to say there must be, this right to be forgotten must go beyond the main entity. That entity must do a cleanup of all the profiles. Now the question is, where do you stop? Because if Mark is my friend, and I don't know, I miss him, or he sent me a very important number, I don't want to lose that 2 years down the line. I want to be able to get it. So, but it's a conversation that's to be had. So there's definitely a lot happening.
It is.
And we're keeping track so that maybe we can update our POPI when the time comes. Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a need for what I call risk management for systems, whether it be on the .com side or even on the federal side or the DoD side, not DoD side.
Not DoD.
But
Department of Defense.
Yeah.
It's okay.
But on the government side.
I'm with you.
So, there's definitely security controls that need to be put in place. Much of it would be to protect privacy, but just the overall security of systems should be in place. And,
I'm with you.
So I would definitely be able to. I would be excited.
Tell them what you do. Tell them exactly what you do.
So I was talking to a friend just yesterday about how long I've been doing this. I've been in cybersecurity realm since 2009, but in IT since 1983. So, I said, man, I've been doing this long. But yeah, I've been doing that since 1983 in some way, shape, or form. And so I've done it for the DoD. Most recently, it's been for a contractor, for contract that support Department of Defense. But it's been mainly Department of Defense for the most part. And some federal services.
Look, you could be part of the sort of impetus that is going to help South Africa and Africa leapfrog itself.
Right.
Because remember, the beautiful thing about Africa is we're very easy to leapfrog because we were not invested so much in the older infrastructure. So if you come to us and you say solar panel, we don't have to take down pylons. There's just nothing there. The land is open already. We put the solar panels, So we are able to just adopt the latest and greatest quite more easier than others. Sometimes without even fully understanding it. You might have heard about the battle with Eskom and I'm forgetting the name. Not JP Morgan. That's a bank. There's a U.S. IT company that was supplying some of the software for managing even the load shedding, the accounts and everything at Eskom. I'll remember its name. And now they are saying Eskom overutilized and went beyond what the contract allowed them to do. So I'm guessing if they were supposed to process 500 records, maybe they went and processed 50,000 records.
Right.
Yeah. So now they want their money, and it's not small money. And Eskom is saying, no, we didn't. That should be fine. So, but look at how Eskom is able to leapfrog itself from a legacy system and immediately take on this new technology and run with it and use it so much that there's even potential that they overuse it, meaning it worked and it was efficient and it was convenient and it delivered on the desired functionality and results. So I think that you'll find it's much easier, but we are still trying to crawl, but we're going to crawl and then we're going to do the high jump. We're not going to do the running. I think the research is out there. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. I know that there was a wish a while ago to create a South Africa or Africa, Silicon Valley. Kenya started with it. I'm not going to make any comments, but we feel that as South Africa and Gauteng, we are better geared. That's why we kind of irritated with Samsung because I think they have 32% market share on all handheld devices here, but they want to open a factory. They opened a factory in Kenya. So we need to go to Korea and ask them, are you serious or should we can't go and find other friends, among other things. So there's that, and of course, youngest population emerging. Right. You might have heard of Agenda 2063, a very ambitious plan to move Africa to beyond infancy, to being competitive and out there. And even the geopolitics of the world have changed. I mean, when China imposed sanctions on these Canadians and the Americans, I don't think anyone expected that to happen within these 10 years because China was still bootstrapping as far as we were concerned. So all of that brings new opportunities with it. And I think for services, that is going to always be key. That's always to be going to be key. So yeah, I think for our part, I always say we learn from you more than we offer you, because you are the one who is the expert. You know what's happening, so you need to tell us how what we do needs to support you.
I see.
If it's not there in place, then we get better at it. So we're not going to say to you, hey, here is a solve for all solution. We're going to learn, oh, that's what you need. Oh, okay, let's see what we have. Oh, that's what you need. Oh, let's see what we have. And then we do another iteration. Then we realize, okay, we're getting better at this. Now we can call ourselves somewhat informed. Yeah.
So could you explain to him what your offices and what you guys could do to assist him in whatever his endeavors may be once you guys are having conversations going back and forth, because you could shoot an email and just say, hey, what's going on? Just let them know what you guys can do, because there's a lot of regulatory stuff that needs to happen, but you guys can sort that out.
Yeah. You're in our one-stop shop, as you saw, smaller boardrooms, even a bigger one. We've got Wi-Fi there on the wall. It's good speed. It's actually the dark fiber that they lit up 2 years ago, so we are well connected. But essentially, we've brought in some of the institutions that are key for business to happen in South Africa, especially large and business from outside. So we brought in the corner, you might have seen a couple of chairs as you walked down the corridor. VFS, they deal with immigration. But we also have a relationship with Home Affairs, the ones who decide on who gets a visa. These guys are the front interface, so you meet with them, you submit to them. But it's not just a matter of them being here with us. We've made an arrangement around them assisting faster, as we've seen that sometimes time is the most expensive thing people have and can't afford. So business wants to move. They don't want to be stuck on regulatory matters. So we're trying to be part of that change in South Africa. We've got the likes of our South African Revenue Services. I think over there you've got those guys who are always hated. IRS, there you go. I was expecting that reaction. I noticed it was a US Tax Day yesterday.
I thought I was giving away.
So we've got all our municipalities and metros, and we've got even at national government. I've mentioned Home Affairs already, but we also have access to the Department of Labours and others. Now, there are many plaques in the front. What I'll do is I'll give you one of our booklets. The idea is that when you want information, when you're ready to effect processes, then you are able to just check, verify with us, and where we can, we assist all the way. Now, the question might be, but then what about your private consultants? We're never going to be your bookkeeper, your tax consultant, your legal advisor, but we are going to be there to provide you with the correct and up-to-date information, and when you're ready to implement those processes, even bring you closer to them. I think in terms of regulatory enablement, we used to mention a few bodies. We used to say SARS, Home Affairs, Department of Agriculture. The whole government is now open to us thanks to the one-stop shop being made national. So we are now able to go as far as even ESCOM, which is our power utility, national power utility, and get things moving. So if you think of any matter regulatory, we probably are able to intervene and make things work. Now, sometimes things do go wrong, meaning you got in, but you got in and you missed a step, or you got the wrong information. Come to us, let's speak to them, because ours is to say to them, this is not just a typical engagement. This is a business who's bringing economic development into our country, job skills, increasing, growing our economy. Therefore, please afford them a bit more time, a bit more attention, the red carpet, and if where they've gone wrong, bring them back in instead of moving quickly to say, oh, undesirable, or persona non grata, or punishment. No. Sometimes people don't know. I don't know. I go to other countries, and you just have to roll with the flow. And sometimes you got the wrong flow, So somebody has to fish you out of there and bring you back. And so that's where we are to say, as business, government finally has a face and a head and a voice that you can engage human to human to see what can be done. Yeah, and we don't charge for our services at all in any capacity, but we do have a currency, which is every now and then, if you do invest, we want you to write us a nice letter to say, hey, I've invested this much and employed this many people, so all the government people can feel that the agency is making an impact in the economy as desired. But that happens when it happens, and we guide you through the process because it needs to follow a particular structure. As such, you are guaranteed confidentiality in a sense that we, as employees of GGDA, we sign a non-disclosure agreement with the company, but furthermore, we will not disclose information to any third party. The only people who might know are the government people for reporting purposes. So they want to know in the year that ended 31st March, how many delegations did you host, how much investment came in, how many jobs were created, and that's where those letters come in. Then they'll know your name. But we'll never ask you, please tell me if you're using RSA or you're using blowfish, whatever the case might be. But you know that better than me. Sorry, Mark.
No. So bad.
Yeah. You know, when you get to your 1024s and 2048s, no, we're never going to go there.
Right.
Yeah, we'll just want to know, okay, how are you doing? How can we help infrastructure-wise? Hey, have you employed anyone? Have you invested anything? And to us, investment is not you coming with bags of dollars or euros. It's anything that you do to create economic growth or presence in South Africa. I'll give you an instance. You go, you set up an office. That's an investment. It's not you saying, okay, in my bank account now, I've brought in. No. All those things. And we even look at indirect jobs. You got an office, then that company now had to hire an extra cleaner and an extra, tea lady.
Right.
That's 2 more jobs,
right.
Indirect, so to speak. So we're at that level. So we always say, when you give us information, don't give us the stuff you'd give to your bankers and your potential partners. Mm-hmm. Water it down to human level. But we will be there every step of the way to say, okay, this one is too much. Don't tell us this, etc. If there is any. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
You got any other good questions? I know you got something.
Well, I'm just excited to get started. Obviously, you know me. I'm kind of an actor, so I'm just excited to get started. One thing I would like to ask is, from a business structure standpoint, we have in the U.S. LLCs, S corporations, C corporations. Does that same structure apply here? As far as, better yet, from a registration standpoint.
The one partner I didn't mention was someone called CIPC.
Yep.
They're called the Companies and Intellectual Property Commission. They are literally the registrar of all companies in South Africa.
Okay.
So they do, you get a few handful options around what type of business you want to create, and you can change over time. I can share that information with you, but you do have closed corporations, you do have public listed companies, you have a few options, and it doesn't always need to stay to always be the same, which, by the way, brings me to the part about triple BEE, because I often feel that there's little and misguiding information out there. I'm not saying wrong, I'm saying little and misguiding, because if it's little and misguiding, triple BEE stands for broad-based Black economic empowerment. Oh, right. It's kind of like affirmative action, whatever the case might be. You would find, and I'm just going to give you a very dirty summary, you can meet, first of all, if your revenue is under, I think, 10 million, could be wrong, I think it's probably 30 now, but if your revenue is under 30 million, let's say that for now, you automatically qualify for a level 4. There are 9 levels, and 9 is the highest you can get. 4 is the one where you qualify as BE empowered. But now they've decided that depending on your business size, you can automatically qualify for a 4 without having to do anything. And you can find that you can move up to a level 7 without parting with equity. So you are able to establish your business here and do other things, social development, empowering your Black employees, procuring from Black companies, etc., and reach that level. And if you are ready to go to that level of parting with equity, or you want to increase your score but you don't want to part with equity, there's something called equity equivalence, which we are able to facilitate with the DTI, where you get points for equity, though you are not parting with equity. And they have formulas that they calculate with. So the general scorecard or the generic scorecard that you find out there in the world, in the market, is generic. You can come and say, is there one for ICT? Is there one for mining? Okay, if I don't like the generic, can I start a process to create one specifically to ICT? And that is a process that can happen. And it doesn't need to happen on day 0. So you can start your business, run it, and then when you feel like you want to bid for government and this thing of BE is starting to inhibit you because you're not getting your BE points in the scorecard, because when they adjudicate this government business, they look at various things, and BE is one of them. Then you can say, now I'm ready, and let's move forward in that. You know, I often find that it's used to scare people, to say, oh, somebody's going to take your company and all your profit, and they're going to sit at home and call you and say, how's it going? You know?
I've I've heard that. But no, it's just to make you competitive.
Right.
Especially for government contracts, because for what I see, just in my experience, it might not be your experience, Cliff, but a lot of people are looking for government contracts. I think most people set their whole businesses up to get a government contract, and they're out there. But like I said, you have to have your BEE has to be on board to start bidding for those government contracts. Okay. So there are people who don't do it because they don't understand BEE, and they won't go out and get the information.
Yeah.
Well, we have the information. It's sitting right there in front of you.
There we go. Yeah. And not to be unpatriotic, as I mentioned, it is the springboard to the rest of the continent. So while you do all of this with South Africa, you could also be discovering Namibia, Botswana, Zimbabwe. How? Pretoria, Gauteng, best place to be. All the embassies are here, and we have those relationships with those embassies. So if you say to me,
look, discover, I had to say, I got to bring Lesotho and Eswatini.
Yeah, yes.
What was that again?
Lesotho and Eswatini.
The two kingdoms.
Within the borders of South Africa.
Yeah.
They're actual nations. They have their own deals, and you can actually cross those borders and work with those governments as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Within the borders, you can drive there in no time.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I'm used to working. Okay.
You will be fine. So if you say to me, I'd like to speak to Malawi, I can go and find out and get in touch with the trade consul or commercial consul from there. Mm-hmm. We set up a meeting. You have a human conversation, and they can guide you in what happens in Malawi. What do you have to offer? And you can start to gauge the market without necessarily leaving Gauteng and going out there. But by the time you go out there, you know it's worth your while. We always encourage businesses to do that. We also always encourage them to use us to filter out the undesirables, because if you go there on your own, the ecosystem might swallow you. But if you come with us, everyone will know, okay, this is a government initiative. If we mess up, it's going to be a diplomatic incident. South Africa is going to complain that they brought this and this is how they were treated, and nobody wants that. So it tends to help. Even if we're not in the room, you just say, no, I'm working with GGDA. It's the provinces 1, 2, 3, then people know, okay, no, I'm not going to let my guy in the room now. It's fine. I'll tell him, not this one. We'll try the next one. Yeah, so that's us in a very quick and dirty fashion. I'll give you the tiny booklet. But we are available to you, and you just prompt us when you need us. I get full disclaimer, horrible with the telephone, because normally I'm running between all these meetings, but Mark now knows how to prompt me. So between email and other means, then I'll be able to respond in case I cannot answer the phone. Otherwise, yeah, we are at your disposal, and hopefully we're going to be part of the solution, or the conviction to say, look, this is definitely something that can work.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I truly appreciate you.
Pleasure is all mine.
Definitely project.
It's a little better than the Small Business Association in the U.S. because, like I said, we were business people for years. They never helped us.
It was pretty much you walk in the building and hand you a pamphlet and tell you to figure it out. So
yeah. And you're your own. Versus here.
Yeah, no. You just have to get to the right place, And the one part, I must give you a little yellow flag. In South Africa, chambers are not regulated, business chambers. So I can all go and open a Mark and Cliff, South Africa's best #1 top of the world chamber of commerce and industry in Gauteng.co.za. Nobody's going to stop us. Nobody's going to stop us. So you'll find sometimes when you start to navigate, you're going to get a little, hey, without us, we're the voice to the government. No, we speak to the... Take your time. You don't need to rush. Right. We're here, I always joke. By the time the law firms print their booklets around the new tax regulation, we've been talking to those people since September when they were making the speech for the minister, which will be delivered in February. So we have a good sense of what's going to happen. And where we don't, we're able to bring those people into the room, and they can tell you, don't go that route, because in 6 months, there's a bill before Parliament that is going to cancel everything.
Wow.
So you don't want to be there on June 30, And then the news is, hey, it's done, it's finished, you know. So, but you always need some specialist skill.
Right.
So I mentioned the tax, the labors, and all those finer inner workings of things. But if you're having those big issues with government, let us know, including with SARS and your VAT and everything, and your customs and other matters. We're able to. But we don't deal with your guys. The reason is they have their own forum normally that they deal with government via these industry bodies they form. So we say, no, we're here for you. They can go through whatever bodies that they go through, because they always charge people, and we don't want them to just take advantage of us, and also misrepresent us. So we want to be there ourselves. Fantastic.
What else you got?
I'm absolutely, at this point,